Good morning. You know, the Bible suggests be hot or be cold, but if you're lukewarm, I'll spat you out. Translation, even God does not like mediocrity. I try to live my life 1 to 10, or 8 to 10. 1 to 5 is mediocrity. 5 to 7 is entertainment. Ladies, that's the guy you date but you don't marry. 8 to 10 is excellence. Not black excellence or brown excellence or tan excellence or white excellence or Asian excellence or Latino excellence. It's just excellence. You cannot take a break from greatness. You want to do this work. You're a bit of social entrepreneurs. But you got to remember that an entrepreneur works 18 hours a day to keep from getting a job. The success is going from failure to failure without loss of enthusiasm. It's about how you handle hard times. How do you respond in challenges? Life is 10% what life does to you and 90% how you choose to respond to it. What's your response going to be? I know 2 people who respond under pressure with class and substance and style and with a giving heart. The coolest philosopher on the planet reads a book a day. Reads a book a day. I'll repeat that, reads a book a day. I said, man, how do you read a book a day? He said, I'm a philosopher, it's my job. Pekka Himanen. The coolest prince on the planet. The people's prince. I call him the James Bond of royalty. All about giving. We were out waiting to come inside, and we were getting some water, and you know, whenever the crown prince is around, you know, because there's like 20 other security people with him. I know them all by name, and he's got an aide and an attaché, and we wanted some water. So who gets the water? Crown prince gets the water. He then passes it to me, then passes it to Pekka. Subtle, but important. Subtle, but important. I want to acknowledge David for his leadership and his vision here today. No good deed shall go unpunished. Give him some love for what he has brought together with this idea, this vision. What you do, who you are, doesn't start tomorrow. It's not about some leader in some foreign land. It's not about a politician. Nelson Mandela said when he became president of South Africa, Madiba, they call him in South Africa. He said to my mentor and my hero, Ambassador Andrew Young, who was Dr. King's most senior aide in the civil rights movement, Andrew Young said to Madiba, to Nelson Mandela, when he became president, what are you going to do for poor people? And Mandela said, what are you going to make me do? And Ambassador Young was confused. You're Nelson Mandela, you're Madiba, you continue the work of Dr. King. He said, be clear, I was a civil rights leader. I was with some of the people who had been oppressed. But now I'm president of a country for all people, one world. What are you going to make me do? What are you going to make your presidents do? What are you going to make your mayors do? What are you going to make your senators do? More importantly, what are you going to do? Leadership starts very small. Dignity begins like a plant. I grew up in Compton, California. I grew up in South Central Los Angeles next to Watts. And I remember my next door neighbor, his name was Tweet. And Tweet was a little social, emotional terrorist. 97 pounds wet. But everybody was afraid of Tweet. You remember, everybody knows the look. Yo, 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 what's up, what's up, what's up, what's up? Not you. Anyway, Tweet terrorized the neighborhood, and everybody was afraid of Tweet. And my mother luckily told me she loved me every day of my life, so nothing more powerful than a child being told that he or she is loved. My best friend, George, a student, not so different from you, 18 years old, George didn't know who he was. He didn't have a mother and a father who told him that he was somebody. So George decided he wanted to look like Tweet. So then he started acting like Tweet. Then he started walking like Tweet. Then he started hanging out with people like Tweet. And George got shot, just like Tweet. George is dead. He's been dead for a long time, but he's alive in my heart. George's story in this world is over, but he remains an inspiration for me in the next. My story was different. My mother told me I was somebody. And I remember I used to go to school dreaming about ideas. Muhammad Yunus told you about the power of ideas. And I remember a guy came to my classroom, and this is Compton now, so be clear, it's in Compton. And a guy came to my classroom, a banker, to do a class in financial literacy. He had a blue suit on, a white shirt, and a red tie. He happened to be Caucasian. It didn't matter. He wasn't white, black, red, brown, or yellow. He was green, the color of U.S. currency. And I just had one question for him. I said, how did you get rich legally? Man, I want to be like you. How did you do that? And I started becoming obsessed with suits. I'd never seen anybody with a suit on before. And then I started noticing, you know, when you buy a bicycle, you start seeing bicycles everywhere. Ladies, you buy those nice pair of new pumps, and you start seeing those pumps everywhere, which you don't like. But you start seeing what you orient around. So I started seeing suits everywhere. Then I noticed my dad wore a suit to church. Then he wore a suit on to Bible study on Tuesday, and he wore a suit on Friday to make payroll for the business that he ran. And I wanted to wear a suit, so I started, wanting a suit. My mother put me in these suits that she made, these three-piece crushed velvet, purple suit with a ruffled shirt and a big bow tie. Traumatized. My mother sent me to school dressed like this every single day in Compton. You didn't get that. Anybody here knows where Compton, you know what I'm talking about? This is nothing nice. I got my rear end whipped every single day. Kids said, the guy, you're dressed like this, you must have some money. But when you open the lapel of the suit, it said designed by Nita. And my mother's name is Juanita Smith. She made these ugly suits. I couldn't understand why would my mother do this to me, but she realized there are three types of people like three types of birds. I'm going to get to this in a moment. There are eagles, there are buzzards, and there are turkeys. She said, you're going to be an eagle, and the only gang you're enjoying is mine. So I started walking like a businessman, talking like a businessman. I wanted a briefcase, and there was nothing in it, but I wanted a briefcase like a businessman, and then I wanted to sell something, so I started selling candy through the den of my house. I hate candy to this day. Ate through half the inventory, and I made $300 a week. Then I found girls and lost the business. Is another story, but recurring theme of my life. And at 10 years of age, I lived my dream. I was a businessman. And fast forward, homeless for 6 months of my life when I was 18 for believing too much in my own press. Whatever goes around, comes around. Regained my life because God don't make dirt. You can't fall from the floor. You can make a mistake and not be a mistake. A saint is a sinner that got up. Reconstituted my life, grew a business at $24 million a year of business, but I realized that money wasn't everything. I was about what I wanted to give, not what I wanted to get. As Haakon has already said, you got to figure out what you're for in a world that's obsessed with what they're against. Started Operation Hope after the riots of 1992. Everybody said, I was 26 years old, everybody said it would never work. They wrote me off. It's a beautiful thing to be written off. Every one of you is going to be discounted and written off. Count on it. Hope for it. Pray about it. Because it leaves you alone. They said this kid can't do anything. The kid had been in business for 16 years, but they didn't know that by the time I was 26. So a dream now has served 1.2 million people. Has raised $500 million, and my mission is to make free enterprise and capitalism actually work for the poor, to empower people with a hand up and not just a hand out. I thought I knew something, and then a young man came in my office, Haakon. He came in my office, Pekka. He had a dream. He wanted to be a clothier, but nobody would listen to him. When we were in the hall and you gave me the water, that you were giving me dignity. When I was talking to the waiter at the restaurant and looked him straight in his eye and said, "How are you today?" We were giving each other acknowledgement and dignity. How many times do you see somebody and never see him? So he came in my office and I saw him and he had a dream. He was 27. Make a long story short, we gave him a small loan for $35,000, gave him financial literacy training, some attention. $35,000 loan, he's now doing $800,000 a year in revenue, has 6 employees, paying his taxes, raising his children, has started his own nonprofit to teach young people entrepreneurship. He made the suit I'm wearing today. Is this pimping or what? A young man wearing a suit in South Central ended up with a young man making the suits in Beverly Hills. I thought I knew something. And this is the message for you, because I never want you to think you're too smart or that you got it all figured out. When you go far enough to the North Pole, you end up south. I went to India, and I went to go teach at a school about dignity, and I came back to the hotel, and I had left my wallet in the car, and so I called the school. I said, "I need you to bring the car back. I've left my wallet in the car." They said, "Sir, that was not our car. That was a taxi. We don't know where your wallet is. You should not have high hopes." This was in Delhi. So they called at 10 o'clock, no response. 11 o'clock, no response. 12 o'clock, no response. I went to sleep. 1 o'clock, they called me, no response. 2 o'clock, they called and said the taxi driver picked up his cell phone and has returned the call. He's coming to your hotel. Don't have high hopes. We don't know what's in your wallet. He got to my hotel room, and an interpreter was there. And through the interpreter, he was telling me what was going on. He passed me my wallet, and I looked in it. There was my passport. There was my money. There were all my credit cards. Not one thing had been touched. Let me put this into context for you. That taxi driver made 2,500 rupees a month. Those of you from India know that's about $70 US. That's about what you spend for lunch today. $70 is what he makes in a month. So I reached in my pocket for some money. It's an instinctive thing, you know. I'm feeling bad. I want to show some support, some help. It happened to be $70, and he wouldn't take it. I said, "There's got to be something wrong with the translation." Tell my brother, I'm getting down with it now. Tell my brother this is a month's pay. He pushed my hand back. He wouldn't take it. I said, "What's wrong?" He got angry with me, and he said to the translator, "I did not bring you your wallet because I wanted a reward. I brought you your wallet because it's your wallet." What would have happened if I had lost that wallet in a taxi in New York City? The richest country in the world. What would have happened if I had lost that wallet in a taxi in London? What would have happened if I had lost that wallet in a taxi in Finland? In almost any place else. So I became confused. I didn't know. I was uncomfortable in my own skin now. What do I do? How do I say thank you? I said, "How do I say thank you?" He said, "The next time you're in India, come and have tea with me. Be my friend." I carried his note around with me for a year. When I came back to India, I called him. We had tea. We were friends. You know, that man gave me more than my wallet. He gave me understanding. He gave me dignity. And I'm tearing up when I tell this story. And I tear up every time I tell this story. And I want you to never forget the feeling that you had the first time somebody believed in you. When I was with the Crown Prince, he told that story about the lady in India. He teared up because it was in him. It was personal to him. Never lose your passion. I'll leave you with this message. There's a difference between being broke and being poor. To be broke is economic, but to be poor is a disabling frame of mind and a depressed condition of your spirit, and you must vow never, ever, ever to be poor again. You can have a lot of money and be poor. You can have no money at all and be rich. So I asked you a question earlier today. I said, from top of my remarks, my mother said there are 3 types of birds, like 3 types of people. There are eagles and buzzards and turkeys. Eagles are high-altitude birds. They're not arrogant. They're not pumped up. But there's a regalness. There's a dignity about eagles, sort of like you. An eagle has a strange way of raising children. The nest is made of sharp little twigs. Message. If you get big enough where you're pushing up against the inside of that nest, you need to get up and go get a job. You cannot be 45 years old living with your mother. But buzzards are low-altitude birds. Buzzards love packs. Buzzards are always stepping on your head to elevate themselves. Always player-hating, never player-congratulating. Always have something negative to say about somebody. What's he doing up there? Why is he hesitant? What they're against, not what they're for. But the worst kind of bird is a turkey, because a turkey's got wings and can't even fly. All they do is profile. Translation, trying to be something they are. So here's my question to you. Because when you're going to go do this work, when you're going to go become a leader, it's not going to be a popularity contest. You've got to want to be respected and maybe not liked, than to be liked and maybe not respected. You're going to have to do things that may not be popular. You're going to have to take the road less traveled. And it has to be okay. You got to understand that rainbows follow storms. You cannot have a rainbow without a storm first. So what kind of bird do you want to be? I said that intentionally low so that you would not instinctively respond. You shouldn't need motivation, but I'm going to amp it up. What kind of bird do you want to be? I'm from the black church. I'm talking to you. If you want me to sit down, you better answer me. I'm going to say it one last time. Say it like you mean it. If you want one world, you're going to have to stand for it and shout at your lungs. Be passionate about something. What kind of bird do you want to be? Eagle. That's what I'm talking about.